Hey guys. So, this is my neighbor's John Deere 410 backhoe. It is one that has been sitting. It's one of the all-time famous ran when parked backhoes. This one actually was one he used on a regular basis. He parked it probably close to 10 years ago now. The last job he actually did with it was he cut a tree down for me. We're next door neighbors, and he cut a tree down on my property, and he used the bucket, the rear bucket, to keep it off of a fence that he was working near. So this backhoe had been sitting, like I said, probably 10 years, close to it. He parked it here. He had used it regularly here on his property to level a giant hill and just make him a good pasture like here where he's got his garden and some other things. But he bought this at an auction. It was actually in pieces. The way I understand it, it's got an Army data plate on it, and the way I understand it, this thing was disassembled and in a warehouse, I believe. The story goes, now this is a story he got from the guy he bought it from, that it had been completely disassembled and was waiting to be shipped overseas during Desert Storm. Now whether that's true or not, I do not know. But I do know that this got an Army data plate on it and that he purchased it at an auction, and the gentleman that was there selling it had the story that it had come from a warehouse. It was completely in pieces. He bought the pieces, put it together, used it, and then decided to sell it. So you can see here we've got a lot of stuff that needs to be done. But not trying to be, I think the term is clickbaity, but I'm probably going to put Stephen Cox's name on this and see if maybe just by some odd chance he'll take a look at it and maybe give us some pointers. Stephen, if you don't know, I'm sure most everybody does, he's a pretty good mechanic on YouTube. He is a good guy in general. He does a lot of things to help other people, but he's a really good diesel equipment mechanic. And I actually wrote Stephen an email about this particular backhoe around a year ago. My neighbor first began to talk about maybe fixing this thing up, and I told him I don't know a whole lot about it, but we'll watch some videos and we'll figure something out, try to get the thing running. So what I did, I'd been watching some videos that Stephen had done on equipment, and I just wrote him an email and said, do you have a video or know of a video that would give somebody a good reference to go with if you're bringing something back that's just been sitting? Because I gave him just a little background on this backhoe. I was hoping maybe to get a reply 2 or 3 weeks later with just a link to a video. But Stephen actually took time to write a very detailed reply to me, addressed everything that I had asked him about, and actually took the time to go and look me up on YouTube and saw that I didn't have any videos, and said something about I needed to create some content, just to get in the game, more or less. Just a very encouraging, very nice guy. And he did a live chat probably 2 or 3 weeks later, and I was able to join that and actually say something to him, and he read a comment where I told that little story, and he was very it was very cool that he noticed and mentioned that. But he's a cool guy. Stephen, if you do happen to see this, and you have any kind of pointers, or you have maybe a video or know of one you can do, I was hoping maybe you and Chucky would get together and bring his Massey back. I don't know if it's gas or diesel, but we're gonna have to try to bring this thing back. Now, my neighbor used this for a lot of years and he maintained it, but as far as it was operational when he got it, and all he did was keep it in a state of operational use. He would change the fuel filters over the years he had it, and the oil and things like that. But as far as starting from scratch and bringing this thing back from the dead, that is something that we may need some guidance on. So if you do happen to see this, or anybody else happens to see this and has any good links to maybe another video, somebody else who's done a similar project, somebody who can just kind of give us a checklist of what we need to do. My neighbor is a little bit older guy. He's a Vietnam vet, or Vietnam era Navy vet, and he'll be quick to correct you and tell you he did not serve in any direct fire capabilities. But that's just that generation. That's how those folks are. They don't want to take credit for anything they didn't do firsthand. But he is a Vietnam era Navy vet. So we're going to kind of work at his pace. So it's not going to be a series of videos starting tomorrow of us working on this thing. But if there's anybody that has any helpful tips or information, videos we can look at to kind of give us a starting point, some reference on what to do, what kind of things to do, bringing something that's been sitting for years back to life, it would be greatly appreciated. Right now we don't have any definite plans of when we'll start this or how we're going to do it, but our intent right now, just we had a little talk about it this morning, is to basically try to get the engine to run, number one, and then we'll begin to work on the hydraulic system. We know that the cylinders, I think, are in pretty good shape. There's a little light surface rust on some of them. We're going to try to save as much as we can, not have to replace a bunch of cylinders if we can help it. But the hoses, are the main concern. There's a lot of hoses that are not in the best of shape. So, but if there's any tips or help that you guys can offer, we'd be glad to have it. And hopefully we'll have a series of videos maybe later this spring and into the summer, ending with this thing moving some dirt, maybe hitting the road. So thanks. And Stephen, if you happen to see this, I already appreciate the help you gave me before, giving me a little guidance on what to do, and it may actually be taking flight this time. So if you do happen to see it, I would appreciate it if you could just give us any hints what we can do to get this backhoe going again. Appreciate it, guys. Talk to you later on.